My name's Lucian, 32, and 3 days into my home stretch after 2 grueling weeks hauling freight from Seattle. I was finally home, cooking breakfast, thinking I'd catch up on sleep, maybe fix that squeaky garage door that's been screaming like a dying cat for weeks. Just a quiet morning, until my wife Susan walked in holding a pregnancy test like it was a golden ticket. She said we needed to talk. Now, here's the thing about me. I'm a long-haul truck driver. Gone 2, sometimes 3 weeks at a time. I love the road. It's just me, the hum of the engine, and whatever podcast keeps me company. It's peaceful. I make good money, 95 grand last year, and Susan and I? We were doing fine. Married 3 years, together for 5. Kids were always a someday topic, not a today one. So when she said she was pregnant, I froze. Surprised, sure, but not terrified. We were stable, 32, with a house and savings. We could handle it. But then came the gut punch, the kind that flips your whole world upside down. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "But I'm not sure if it's yours or Emory's." Emory, her coworker. The same guy who'd been lighting up her phone for months. The same guy she swore was just a friend. I didn't even need her to say more. I could see it in her face, the guilt, the fear. She'd rehearsed this. Every word, every tear, every pause. This wasn't confession. It was damage control. I asked her to tell me everything. And that's when the waterworks started. Late nights at the office. Too much stress. It only happened once, she said. Then maybe twice. Then I don't really remember. She said she still loved me, that the baby was a wake-up call, that she wanted to make it right. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there doing math in my head. 6 weeks ago, I was driving through the Midwest. Gone 16 days. When I came home for 5, she couldn't keep her hands off me. Suddenly, all that affection made perfect, twisted sense. So I set my coffee down carefully and said, "Let me get this straight. While I was out hauling freight through 3 time zones, you were sleeping with your coworker, and then with me, back to back. And now you don't know who the father is?" She bristled. Said it sounded worse when I said it like that. Said I should be grateful she was being honest. That she could have lied and pretended it was mine. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. I just said, "All right, we'll schedule a DNA test. Then we'll talk." She looked almost relieved. Thought I was calm. Thought I was forgiving. She hugged me. Sobbed about how understanding I was, how the baby could bring us closer. I hugged her back, told her it'd be okay. Then I went upstairs, locked the bathroom door, and started planning my exit. Because I'm not the husband she thinks she married. I'm the man she just handed every piece of ammo to. That afternoon, I called Robin, old friend from high school, now a divorce lawyer. I told him what happened. He went silent for a second, then said, "You recording this?" "No," I told him. But in my head, I was already building my case, brick by brick. Robin didn't waste a second. His tone shifted from friendly to razor-sharp lawyer mode. "Lucian, listen carefully," he said. "You need proof. A recording, a text, an email, anything in writing. In our state, adultery changes everything. Alimony, assets, the whole game. From this moment on, document everything. You hearing me?" "Loud and clear," I told him. We went down the list. The house? Mine alone. I bought it before the marriage. She only moved in after. "Good," he said. "That's solid. What about accounts?" "1 checking, 1 credit card. Close them, today. Open new ones in your name only. Move your direct deposit. Don't let her touch a cent while you're gone." We talked for another half hour as he laid out the playbook. Stay calm, lock down finances, don't tip her off, file first when the timing's right. When I hung up, I wasn't just hurt anymore, I was focused. First stop, her iPad. Still logged into her iCloud. She'd never bothered with security. I backed up everything. Every sweet nothing she'd ever texted Emory. No explicit photos, but enough thinking about you and can't wait to see you to make my stomach turn. Screenshots, dates, timestamps, 3 different cloud backups. Then I pulled up the phone records. 4 months of calls, 2, sometimes 3 times a day. Dozens of texts even when I was home. Even during our anniversary dinner. That one stung. I downloaded the last 6 months, saved it all. Next, the money. I moved 70%, about 12 grand, from our joint checking into a new account. Left just enough to cover bills so it wouldn't look suspicious. Canceled the joint credit card. Opened a new one solo. Changed my direct deposit routing. Susan made decent money, 62 grand a year, but I'd always been the main breadwinner. Robin said that mattered, and I believed him. Then I made a call I'd been itching to make. Found Emory's office number. He answered on the second ring. "This is Emory Delgado." "Hey," I said evenly. "This is Susan's husband. We need to talk about her pregnancy." Click, he hung up. 5 minutes later, I called back from a different number. "Look," he said before I could even start, "I didn't know she was married. She doesn't wear a ring at work." "She has a ring," I shot back. 3-carat diamond. Princess cut. White gold band. I bought it myself. Silence. "She's pregnant," I continued. "Says it might be yours. How many times did you sleep with my wife, Emory?" He hesitated. I don't know. Maybe 4 or 5 times. But we used protection. It can't be mine." 4 or 5 times, I said. "That's not a mistake. That's a relationship." "It wasn't like that," he stammered. "We were working late. She said you two were having problems." "Oh, really?" I asked. "What problems?" "She said you were never home. That you ignored her. That your marriage was basically over." I almost laughed. "I'm a truck driver, Emory. 2 weeks on the road, 5 days home. Same schedule for 8 years. She knew that when she said I do. That's not a problem, that's my job." He went quiet. Then he mumbled, "Look, I don't want any trouble. I'm engaged. Getting married in 4 months. My fiancé can't find out." "What's her name?" I asked. "What?" "Your fiancé. What's her name?" "Alyssa. Why?" "Just curious," I said, and hung up. That night I set up small hidden cameras in my truck, insurance, just in case. Then I logged into our shared cell phone account and quietly enabled location tracking on her phone. She'd never checked the family plan settings. Why would she? When she came home that evening, she acted like nothing had happened. Made dinner, talked about her day, kissed me goodnight. I smiled back, calm as ever. She had no idea I'd just built a digital fortress around her lies. The DNA test was booked 2 weeks out. She had to be at least 9 weeks along. That gave me time. Time to watch, to wait, to set every domino in place. I had a 10-day haul scheduled to start in 3 days. She asked me to postpone, to stay home and support her. I told her I couldn't. Bills don't pay themselves. Baby's gonna need diapers, cribs, college funds. Someone's gotta work. She gave me the cold shoulder. Said I was always working, that this was more important. But I didn't care. I had a plan to execute. During that 10-day run, I tracked her phone like a hawk. Most days, she went straight to work and straight home. But 3 times, her route changed. Same apartment complex, 2 to 3 hours each visit. I cross-checked the address, Emory's place. She was still seeing him. Even after confessing the pregnancy, she hadn't slowed down. Not one bit. On the 7th day, I was fueling up in Iowa when her location pinged at a downtown hotel. 9 p.m., Wednesday night. She stayed until almost midnight. I saved every screenshot. The next morning, I called the hotel. "Yeah," I said when they answered. When I called the hotel, I kept my voice steady. "Hey, trying to track down my wife. She mentioned staying there last night." Susan Davidson. The clerk didn't hesitate. "Yeah, she checked in with a male guest. Paid cash. She'd even used her real name." The audacity almost made me laugh. When I finally got home after that 10-day haul, she was in full Stepford wife mode. My favorite dinner on the table. House spotless. Smiling, sweet, affectionate. Acting like nothing in the world was wrong. I played along. Ate the food. Let her kiss me. Pretended I didn't know she'd been with Emory 4 separate times while I was gone. The night before the DNA test, she brought it up over dinner, like we were discussing weekend plans. "What if it's Emory's? What happens then?" "We'll deal with it when we know for sure," I said. "Would you stay? Would you raise the baby as yours?" I looked at her. "That's a pretty big ask, Susan." "But you love me," she said softly. "We're married. That's what marriage is, supporting each other through hard times." She was testing me, seeing if I'd bite, if she still had me wrapped around her finger. "We'll see what the results say," I told her. She looked disappointed. That night, I slept in the guest room. She didn't argue. The next morning, we drove to the clinic separately. She took her CRV. I parked my truck 3 blocks away and walked. In the waiting room, she held my hand, scrolling through baby name websites showing me pictures of cribs on Amazon. She played the part perfectly, the nervous, expectant mother with the loving husband by her side. I just watched her, realizing I'd been married to a stranger. For 3 years, I'd trusted a woman I never really knew. Never saw the manipulation, never caught the lies. I just believed her. Because that's what you do when you love someone. Big mistake. Lesson learned. When the nurse called us in, she drew Susan's blood first, then turned to me. Susan's eyes were on me the whole time, waiting for me to roll up my sleeve, waiting for me to prove I was still all in. Instead, I stood up and walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked, panic creeping into her voice. "Getting some air. They need your blood sample." "They'll get it." Outside, I called Robin. "She's trying to lock me in," I told him. "Don't give her anything," he said. "Stay neutral. Document everything. You're close." 10 minutes later, I walked back in, calm and collected. Rolled up my sleeve. Let them draw the blood. Susan visibly relaxed, shoulders dropped, face softening. She thought she'd won. Thought I'd fallen right back into line. That's when I dropped the bomb. "Oh, by the way," I said casually, like I was talking about the weather, "I invited Emory. He should be here soon." Her face went pale. "What?" "For the DNA test. He's a potential father. Standard protocol. I also invited his fiancée, Alyssa. They deserve to know too, right?" "Transparency. You said you wanted that." She bolted upright, backing toward the door like a trapped animal. "You can't do this." "Why not?" I asked, still calm. "Everyone deserves the truth." The nurse looked completely lost. Then Dr. John walked in, trying to piece together the chaos as I explained, calmly, that another potential father was arriving for testing. Susan tried to push past me, but I blocked the door, didn't touch her, just stood there. If she wanted out, she'd have to make a scene in front of everyone. 10 minutes later, Emory walked in with Alyssa. Both looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Emory in his office khakis and button-down, Alyssa in blue scrubs from her dental job. The moment Susan saw them, she froze, then tried to run. Emory caught her arm. "We need to talk," he said, voice low but firm. Alyssa turned to Susan, eyes full of disgust. "So you're the beak who's been sleeping with my fiancé?" The waiting room exploded. Patients stared. Dr. John tried to calm everyone down, but it was chaos, like trying to herd wild cats. Susan screamed at me, "You had no right! This is private! This is between us!" Emory had his hands up, muttering, "Let's just stay calm." Alyssa was already texting someone, probably calling in backup. And me? I just sat there, watching it unfold like I'd paid $12 for the best drama in town. Better than anything on Netflix. "This was unnecessary," Susan hissed, eyes burning. "Nothing's private when 3 people are involved," I said quietly. "You wanted transparency. Here it is." "You're a jerk!" she shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear. Dr. John finally managed to separate us all into different rooms. Drew Emory's blood next. Guy looked like he was about to pass out, whispering, "This can't be happening," under his breath. The doctor explained that results would take about a week and told us not to contact each other in the meantime. When we left, Susan had no choice but to ride with me. My truck was blocking her car in at the Walgreens next door. I took my time unlocking the door, adjusting my seat, checking mirrors. Let her stew. The entire drive home, she tried every manipulation tactic in the book. Crying, yelling, guilt-tripping, threatening, playing the victim. "I was honest with you," she screamed. "You punished me for it." I didn't respond. Just drove. Eyes on the road. Sports radio low in the background. I let her talk. Let her exhaust herself. Let her reveal piece by piece exactly who she really was. When we got home, Susan went straight to the bedroom and slammed the door so hard the frame rattled. I could hear her through it almost immediately, her voice sharp, rehearsed. She was on the phone, probably with her mom or her sister Mira, spinning her version of the story, painting herself as the victim. "He ambushed me," I heard her say. "He's being so cruel." I don't know what to do. I just stood there for a moment, listening to her rewrite the script, already rebuilding her narrative, and then I headed to the garage. That's where I made my own call. Robin picked up on the second ring. "How'd it go?" he asked. "Perfect," I said, sitting in my truck with the engine off, door closed. "Got Emory and his fiancée as witnesses. Got Susan's meltdown on camera. Enough proof to show adultery, manipulation, all of it." There was a pause on his end. "Good, then you're ready for the next step. File for divorce. Tomorrow. Before the results come back?" I asked. "Exactly. You need to control the narrative. First to file sets the tone and the terms." "What about the baby?" "Doesn't matter. If it's yours, you'll pay support. If it's not, you're free. Either way, the marriage is over." He was calm, matter-of-fact, and completely right. That night, while Susan slept inside, I sat at my workbench in the garage with a single light overhead, filling out every line of the paperwork he sent. Grounds for divorce, adultery. Supporting evidence, screenshots, call logs, location pings, message threads, even Emory's own words admitting the affair. I organized everything into a 3-ring binder, color-coded tabs, labeled sections, receipts, timestamps. The whole case built like a machine. I requested full ownership of the house, my trucks, both of them, my retirement accounts, my tools, everything I'd worked for. She could keep her clothes, her car, and whatever dignity she had left. No alimony, no shared assets. Clean break. Robin filed the papers the next morning. By 2 p.m., Susan was served, right at her desk in front of her coworkers. Some guy in a suit walked up, handed her the envelope, and left her standing there, frozen. She called me 17 times in 20 minutes. I didn't answer. I just let them go to voicemail, saving each one. The first few were angry. The next were pleading. By the last one, she was sobbing. When she got home around 6, she stormed in and threw the papers at me. They scattered across the kitchen floor. "What is this?" she demanded. "What it looks like," I said. "You're divorcing me over one mistake?" 4 or 5 mistakes with Emory, I said evenly. Plus the conference guy from March. Rick, right? From Denver? The color drained from her face. She hadn't realized she'd given herself away. Her voice faltered. "How did you—" She stopped. The truth hit her mid-sentence. "You've been planning this," she whispered. "You've been collecting evidence. I've been protecting myself." She shifted gears fast, tears this time, promises, bargains. "I'll cut contact with Emory. We'll get counseling. I'll do anything. Please don't throw away our marriage." I looked at her for a long moment. "I'm leaving tonight," I said. "Gotta run to Portland. 12 days. When I get back, I want you moved out." Her face hardened. "You can't kick me out. This is my house, too." "No," I said quietly. "It's my house." "Your name's not on the deed. Not on the mortgage. Check the paperwork if you don't believe me." "I'm pregnant," she shouted. "Maybe with my kid. Maybe not. Either way, you've got 12 days to find somewhere else to live." I loaded up the truck, grabbed my duffel, and drove off. Didn't look back. The road stretched long and quiet. 3 days to Portland, plenty of time to think. 5 days into the haul, somewhere between Flagstaff and Phoenix, my phone rang. Dr. John's office. "Mr. Davidson? The DNA results are ready. Could you come in?" "I'm in Arizona," I said, pulling into a rest stop. "Can you email them?" A pause. Professional, but uneasy. "We prefer to deliver results in person. It's our policy. I'll be back in a week." "Can it wait?" Another pause, longer this time. "I think you should come in sooner if possible. There are complications." My stomach dropped. "Complications? What kind?" "I can't discuss over the phone, sir." "But it's important." That was all I needed to hear. I called my dispatcher, said I had a family emergency, and turned the truck around. Drove 18 hours straight. One stop for gas and food at a Flying J outside Albuquerque. The rest of the time, it was just me, the highway, and the roar of the engine under my thoughts. When I finally pulled into the driveway, the house was quiet and mostly empty. Susan had moved out just like I'd asked, but she'd taken more than her things. The couch, the dining table, my 65-inch Samsung TV, even the damn KitchenAid mixer. She'd left behind notes, though. One scrawled on the bathroom mirror in lipstick, "Hope you're happy." Another stuck to the fridge. "This is what you wanted, right?" Petty, childish, but I didn't care. Furniture could be replaced. Appliances could be bought again. Peace of mind, that was priceless. And for the first time in months, I had it. The next morning, I was sitting across from Dr. John in her office at exactly 9 a.m. Framed diplomas lined the wall behind her desk. A couple of family photos tucked in the corner, the kind that make everything feel a little too calm before bad news. She had that look doctors get when they're about to drop something heavy. "Mr. Davidson," she started carefully, "your results are unusual." My pulse didn't even spike. I'd braced myself for this. "Just tell me." She hesitated, then said it, clean, clinical, final. "You're not the biological father." I nodded, expected. I'd already made peace with that. Then she kept talking. "Mr. Delgado isn't the father either." I blinked. "Wait, what?" She looked down at the paper, then back up. Neither of you are the biological father. Based on the genetic markers, the fetus belongs to a third party entirely, someone else. A third guy. I sat there staring at the printed report. All the official stamps and DNA charts that might as well have been written in another language. But the conclusion was crystal clear. Father 1 excluded. Father 2 excluded. Actual father, unknown. All that chaos. The lies, the fights, the planning, the divorce, and it turned out the baby didn't belong to either of us. It was from some mystery man Susan had been sleeping with too. I didn't even want to know how many plates she'd been spinning. Then Dr. John's voice softened. There's one more thing. When a doctor says that, your stomach always drops, and mine did. When we ran your wife's blood work, she said, we discovered she's not currently pregnant. For a second, I just stared. Come again? She had what's called a chemical pregnancy, a very early miscarriage. The pregnancy ended within the first few weeks, probably not long after she took the home test. The hormones were still in her system, which is why it showed positive, but there was never a viable pregnancy. I sat back in the chair. So there was no baby. No life, nothing, just the ashes of a lie. So, I asked slowly, the DNA you tested came from a pregnancy that already ended? She nodded. That's correct. I laughed. Couldn't help it. A sharp, bitter sound. Let me get this straight. Susan gets pregnant by some random third guy, not me, not Emory, then miscarries before the DNA test even happens. But not before torching her entire marriage and exposing herself to the world. She nuked her life over a pregnancy that didn't even exist anymore. Can I get copies of everything? I asked. Dr. John printed the full report. Signatures, stamps, analysis, all laid out in neat rows. I left her office with the papers in hand, feeling weirdly light. I sat in my truck, dialed Robin. He picked up fast. So? You're not going to believe this, I said. I told him everything. The third guy? The miscarriage. The whole mess. He burst out laughing. You've got to be kidding me. Nope, got the documents right here. That makes your divorce airtight, he said. Adultery, paternity fraud, multiple partners. Even if she didn't know about the third guy, she still lied. This is a slam dunk. What if she fights it? Let her. We've got proof she cheated, proof she lied, proof the kid wasn't yours. She's done. I hung up and just sat there. The weight of it all finally settling. Susan had burned down everything. For nothing. When she found out, it was chaos all over again. Dr. John had called her in separately. Delivered the same news. And just like clockwork, my phone blew up. 17 missed calls, 23 texts. Everyone some version of we need to talk or this doesn't change anything. I didn't answer. Robin's orders, total silence. Let the lawyers handle it. 3 days later, she showed up at my house anyway. But I'd already changed the locks. Top-grade Schlager deadbolts. She went ballistic. Pounded on the door, screaming that I couldn't keep her out of her home. Threatened to call the cops. Neighbors peeked out their windows. Mr. Miller from across the street actually came out on his porch with a drink like it was Friday night entertainment. So I called the cops first. Yeah, I told dispatch. My estranged wife is trespassing and refusing to leave. Divorce is filed. I need someone here now. 2 officers showed up, one young, one older. They listened to her rant, then asked to see the deed. I handed it over, my name only. Divorce papers served, all official. They turned to her, calm but firm. Ma'am, you're not on the deed. You've been served. You need to leave, she argued. They didn't flinch. Leave now or we'll arrest you for trespassing. She left, tires squealing, anger echoing down the block. 2 days later, her lawyer contacted Robin. She was contesting the divorce, claiming emotional distress. Abandonment during her miscarriage, saying I kicked her out illegally, wanted half of everything. Robin didn't even blink. Sent over the full evidence binder. Every file, every screenshot, every piece of proof organized and color-coded. A week later, her lawyer quit. Told Robin, I can't represent this. That should have been the end. But Susan wasn't done. She went nuclear, called my employer, somehow got through to the safety department. Told them I was unstable, unfit to drive, that I was harassing her, that they should pull my CDL. My boss, Randy, called me in. What the hell's going on? I laid everything on his desk, the divorce papers, the DNA results, the proof. He skimmed it, sat back, and shook his head. "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen," he said. "Take 2 weeks off. Paid. And for the first time in months, I actually exhaled." Randy leaned back in his chair, ran a hand over his face, and sighed. "Get this sorted, Lucian. Take a couple of weeks, clear your head. And if your ex calls here again, I'll file harassment charges myself." That was the last thing I expected to hear from my boss, but also exactly what I needed. Of course, Susan didn't take the hint. A few days later, she went full drama queen, filed for a restraining order, stood in front of a judge, and painted herself as the victim. Claimed I'd threatened her, stalked her, made her fear for her safety. Said she needed protection from me. Robin handled it like clockwork. In court, he tore her story to shreds, showed the judge call logs proving I hadn't reached out once since the divorce papers were served. Every single contact had come from her side. Over 100 calls, none answered. Police report? Filed by me. Evidence? Ironclad. By the time Robin finished, the judge looked exhausted. "Ms. Davidson," he said flatly, "filing false claims wastes this court's time. Do it again and I'll hold you in contempt, understood?" She nodded through tears, makeup streaking, the performance collapsing right there in front of everyone. I watched her walk out of that courthouse from across the parking lot. Not with anger. Not with pity. Just nothing. I felt absolutely nothing. But she wasn't done. When the legal route failed, she went public. Social media, her new courtroom. Facebook post. Paragraph after paragraph about her miscarriage. How I'd abandoned her in her darkest hour. How I'd kicked her out while she was grieving. She called me a monster who cared more about revenge than love. Said truck drivers were never home. That she was lonely, neglected, forced to seek comfort elsewhere. The post blew up, hundreds of shares, comments from people I hadn't talked to in years. Everyone suddenly had opinions. Some defended her. Some turned on me. I didn't say a word. Didn't post. Didn't explain. Just let her talk herself deeper into the hole she was digging. Robin told me to screenshot everything, so I did. Then out of nowhere, the knockout punch came, from someone I didn't expect. Emory's fiancée, Alisa. She commented under Susan's post, a long, detailed response that started with, "Since we're sharing stories, here's the truth." She dropped screenshots, phone records, DNA results, every piece of evidence laid bare for the world to see. She tagged Susan, tagged Emory, tagged me. No drama, just cold, organized truth. Within an hour, Susan's post vanished. Deleted. But the screenshots? They live forever. Everyone who'd called me a monster suddenly saw the real picture. Her reputation? Gone. Her circle? Gone. She was alone. Completely, utterly alone. Meanwhile, I was back on the road. The hum of the truck, the long stretches of asphalt, the peace I'd been craving finally settling in. I was rebuilding quietly, steadily. But there was still one thing left. One final move. See, being a truck driver has its perks. You meet people, different cities, different lives. You build a network without even realizing it. And one of those connections was Tommy. I'd met him 3 years earlier at a truck stop outside Dallas. His car had broken down and I'd helped jump it. He worked in HR at Susan's company. We'd stayed in touch, just casual check-ins, a hope you're doing well kind of friendship. I called him. Explained everything, the affair, the divorce, the whole circus. Then asked, "You know an Emory Delgado?" "Yeah," he said. "Everyone knows Emory." "Ever heard any talk about him and Susan?" He hesitated. "Rumors, yeah. People have noticed. Lunch breaks, long chats. Nothing official, though. Does your company have a policy about workplace relationships?" He called me back 2 hours later. "Yeah, man. Strict one. No relationships between coworkers, especially married ones. They got sued a few years back, so now it's zero tolerance. If someone files a complaint with proof, HR has to investigate. And if the evidence is solid?" I asked. "They'd both be fired. No exceptions." That was all I needed to hear. I spent a whole evening at FedEx office putting together a professional report. Every message, every timestamp, every GPS log printed on crisp paper and neatly organized. Labeled by date, highlighted key details, and wrote an anonymous letter outlining everything. Then I mailed it. Certified delivery. 3 weeks later, the investigation hit. HR called both of them in separately, Susan and Emory, confronted them with evidence they couldn't talk their way around. Emory cracked first. He threw her straight under the bus. Said she'd pursued him, pressured him, even threatened to expose him if he backed out. Suddenly, the poor guy who'd been in love was the victim. Susan tried to deny it all. Said it was fake. Said she was being framed. Then switched stories halfway through. Claimed it was consensual, then claimed harassment. HR wasn't buying any of it. The evidence was too clean, too organized, too undeniable. They were both fired that same day. Susan, for violating company policy, creating a hostile work environment, and using company resources for personal affairs. And me? I was hundreds of miles away, somewhere along I-80, watching the sun sink behind the horizon, finally feeling like the world had evened the score. Emory got fired too. Same reasons as Susan. Violation of company policy, dishonesty during the investigation, and for trying to throw her under the bus. HR doesn't like liars. That night, my phone rang. For the first time in 4 months, I answered. I knew exactly who it was, and honestly, I wanted to hear her say it. You did this, Susan said, her voice trembling. You got me fired. I didn't do anything. I almost laughed. No, Susan, you got yourself fired. You had an affair at work. You left evidence everywhere. Actions have consequences. I'll sue you, she snapped. I'll take you for everything. Good luck with that, I told her calmly. You have zero proof I had anything to do with it. And even if you did, everything that's happening right now, it's just fallout from your own choices. You cheated, you lied. You tried to frame me, humiliate me, destroy me publicly. All I did was protect myself. Her voice broke. I'm going to lose everything. My job, my career, my apartment. I have nothing left, I paused. Then said the one truth she needed to hear. You already lost all that the day you decided your marriage wasn't worth more than a few flings. You made your bed. I'm just making sure you lie in it. And then, for the first time in a long time, I hung up first. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Judge ruled in my favor on everything. The house? Mine. The trucks? Mine. The retirement, the tools, the accounts, all mine. Susan got her car, her clothes, and a handful of personal items. That was it. No alimony, no shared assets, no sympathy. Just a clean break. The judge even ordered her to pay my legal fees, all 28,000 of them. Robin earned every penny, building that case from the ground up, every text, every receipt, every lie documented. She tried to argue she couldn't afford it. The judge didn't care. Meanwhile, karma wasn't done. Emory's fiancée, Alyssa, she dumped him right after the DNA results. Took her ring, a 3-carat diamond, easy 15 grand, and kicked him out. He ended up back at his parents' place, 31 years old, unemployed, and blacklisted in his industry. Every job he applied for called HR, and HR gave the same polite, devastating answer. Terminated for policy violation. Then there was Rick, the conference guy. I'd found his name buried in old emails. Word got around that his wife had discovered his messages with Susan. She filed for divorce, cleaned him out, the house, the cars, the retirement. He was living in a studio apartment, paying alimony and child support for the next 15 years. That's the thing about deceit. It spreads like wildfire. Everyone who played with it got burned. As for me, I moved on. About a year later, I met someone new, another truck driver of all people. Her name's Vivian. We met at a weigh station in Nevada, both waiting on inspections. She cracked a joke about DOT officers moving slower than dial-up internet, and I laughed. First real laugh in months. We started talking, CB chatter on long runs through Montana, late-night texts when we were parked at rest stops, video calls when schedules lined up. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't forced. Just honest, real. 8 months later, it's still good. Still healthy. Built on mutual respect and the kind of quiet trust you don't realize you've been starving for until you finally have it. And Susan? Last I heard, she's still in Seattle. Working retail management, making decent money, still playing the victim online. Always the same script, different audience. Some people never change. Me, I did. I learned everything I needed to. Trust your instincts. Document everything. Protect your peace like it's oxygen. And never ever tolerate disrespect just to keep the peace. In the end, revenge was satisfying, sure. But peace? Peace was the real win. Susan thought she was playing chess. Turns out she was playing checkers. And I'd already memorized every move she was ever going to make. Checkmate.